Okay, it's time to take the XK A280 back out for another test flight. I don't know if you watched the previous video where I did the prop testing. I tested two different props on it, other than the stock prop. And the performance that I get with that APC 7x5 thin electric two blade prop is fantastic. So everything on the plane is stock except for the prop. I wanted to see if I could get some really good performance out of the power system without changing any of the electronics. And I did that. So there will be a link to those, a 5-pack of those props. I think there's a link to a single prop, and there's a link to a 5-pack of those APC 7x5 thin electric two blade props. This was the only one of those props that I had, so I am going to be pulling the trigger on that 5-pack of those props. I'm hoping the XK will come out with a full line of these micro Warbirds, brushless Warbirds, and then I'll have props ready to go for them if they do. Because if they do come out with more of them, I'm going to be picking them up. That's how much I like it. Okay, so I wanted to show you, I'll show you a close-up of the modification of the spinner to match the 7x5 prop. And as you can see, it matches up really, really well. And the way that I was able to get that to match up that closely to that prop was I used a contour gauge, a shape duplicator. It's a little 5-inch one. And that worked a charm and saved me tons of time on getting the profile of the spinner to match the profile of the prop. And I'll show you a close-up right now of the contour gauge, the shape duplicator that I have. I have a link to one of those in the show notes. It's almost identical to mine. It also has a lock on it, just like mine. I would not want to have one that doesn't have a lock on it. So once you get your shape, you want to be able to lock those in place so that you could trace it out. And that's exactly what I did. And then that gave me the precise shape that I needed when taking off the additional material off of that spinner assembly. I also, in this flight, I'm going to be flying it with the highest performance battery that I have, and you can definitely feel the difference in the amount of power between the other 2S, 500 to 600 milliamp hour LiPos I have and the stock one. These G&B 2S 450 milliamp hour LiPos that are 80C provide as much power as that power system is requiring when I'm going full throttle with it. And the stock battery doesn't seem to be able to do that. Maybe with the stock prop, but not with the 7x5 prop. So I've also got links to, I think it's a 4-pack of those batteries in the show notes. I'm also going to be picking up more of those because I only have 3 of them. So I'm going to be picking up a 4-pack of those LiPos. It does have an XT30 connector on it. So what I did was I just made an adapter to go from an XT30 to a JST. You can buy those adapters too. I just fabricated one. So I just left the JST connector on the ESC on the plane and just used the adapter for those batteries, since my other 2S batteries all have JST connectors on them. But the performance is absolutely fantastic. There's a link to the plane in there. There's links to the props. There's a link to the batteries. There's a link to the contour gauge that I use for that. And that contour gauge is awesome. And the one that I have linked in the show notes is dirt cheap. I think it's $6.99 for a 5-inch contour gauge shape duplicator. And I'll also be using that when I convert my 1-meter chuck glider, my second 1-meter chuck glider, to get the curve profile of the top and bottom of the fuselage, so that when I fabricate my my mount plate for my motor, it will perfectly match the outline and contour of the front of the fuselage. So that there's all kinds of uses for it. So if you don't have one, I suggest you get one for your toolkit. Anyway, I'm ready to throw it in the air. I'll see you out at the field.
Okay, now that I've got my spinner modified for this APC 7x5 thin electric prop, and I've removed my nose ballast weight now since I've got the spinner on it. Let's get it in the air. Alright, that was about 60% throttle. I am in 3D mode. Sweet. Big, huge loop. I'm liking this prop a lot. Nice vertical climb. And it moves through the air faster. Rolls are faster because it's moving faster. That seems pretty well balanced. And handles extremely well. It's a keeper, guys. It's definitely a keeper. Isn't that stable? That was really moving slow at the apex. I've got one of my 2S 450 milliamp hour 80C LiPos in it, and that seems to have the best performance with that LiPo. I remember where that big ball of fire is. Pretty nimble, changes directions pretty quickly. Stay below the sun. Alright, so I'm happy I got the spinner back on it. Look at that. Doesn't that handle just beautifully? I may put a little more elevator in it. And then I think it will be right where I like it. Okay. Before we get any more walkers coming through, see if we could bring it in. Bit of a crosswind. Going around. The wind just picked up. Alright, let's try it again. was a slow landing, wasn't it? I had more of a headwind there than I thought. It must be about, between 5 and 6 right now. Alright guys, I've said it in my previous review video, but I highly recommend this plane as a trainer, Warbird trainer. Sub 250 gram, handles absolutely fantastic. And if you want to, everything is stock except for the prop. So I tested a couple of different props and I settled on the APC 7x5 thin electric. It seems to give it the best performance with everything else being stock of the props that I've tested so far. So I went ahead and modified my spinner so it would fit that prop. But that is absolutely fantastic. I love the performance that this little plane has now with that 7x5 two blade prop. There'll be links to it in the show notes. There'll be links to the plane in the show notes. There'll be links to the GNB 2S 450 milliamp hour LiPos in the show notes. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the air.